Hey everybody, so Winnipeg. Oh, Winnipeg, what are you doing? So the Winnipeg Jets, obviously a favorite coming into the playoffs, a favorite for most of this season. They were thought to be a Stanley Cup contending team. Very, very good team, well built for the playoffs, big physical team. And the expectations were high for the Jets this year. So, no, they have a good season. Not as great of a year, I think, as people expected from Winnipeg, but they still had a good season. But they ended up blowing the division lead at the last week of the year. And that knocked them down to second place, which means they have to face a third-place team in the division rather than taking on a wild card team. So Winnipeg and St. Louis get matched up in the first round, and Winnipeg manages to lose both games 1 and 2 on home ice to the St. Louis Blues, and this series looked over. St. Louis goes into Winnipeg, says, screw you to the crowd, screw you to your whiteout, whatever, wins both games at home, or on the road, rather, in Winnipeg, and takes a 2-0 series lead back to St. Louis. So what you got to think there, 2-0. All St. Louis has to do is win one of their 2 home games, and they're in complete control of this series. 3-1, series is probably over. Then it becomes, St. Louis, what are you doing? Oh, God, Blues. And Winnipeg takes both games in St. Louis to tie the series up. And Winnipeg starts to look like the team that we thought they would be at the beginning of the year, and a really powerhouse Western Conference team. So Winnipeg goes into St. Louis, takes both games, and we're through 4 games in the series. We're tied 2-2, and a home team has not won a single game yet. And then we get to last night. So last night in Winnipeg, we're back in Canada. We're back in the whiteout. Winnipeg regained home ice advantage by taking both games in St. Louis, and takes a 2-0 lead into the third period. Winnipeg is up 2-0 at the start of the third period. You would think they would win that game. Home ice, Game 5, critical Game 5 to take a 3-2 series lead. You would think they would win that game. Nope. They blow the game on home ice in the third period, give 3 unanswered goals, and lose 3-2 in the third to St. Louis. So now St. Louis takes a 3-2 commanding series lead and really puts themselves in the driver's seat heading back to St. Louis. And still, through 5 games, a home team has not won a game yet in this series. Man, I would be pissed if I was a fan of either one of these teams and I bought tickets, paid all that money to go see my team in a playoff game, and not a single Blues fan has seen the Blues win at home, and not a single Jets fan has seen the Jets win at home, because they have only 1 road games in this series. It's wild. I mean, these playoffs in general are wild. The NHL playoffs are always crazy, but this year is totally off the wall, no pun intended. This year is nuts. Absolutely nothing makes sense so far in these playoffs. And the one series that, it's not necessarily surprising that St. Louis is up 3-2. I think everyone thought this was going to be a very close series. And a lot of people had St. Louis knocking the Jets out. But not a single win for the home teams yet. That is ridiculous. And now, when we look at what's happening here, there's a good chance that Winnipeg gets knocked out. So there's a good chance Calgary gets knocked out. There's San Jose's on the brink. So Dallas and Nashville are tied 2-2. That's just the West. In the East, Tampa's already out. Pittsburgh's already out. Boston and Toronto are tied 2-2 with a pivotal game tonight. And the Capitals and Hurricanes are tied 2-2. What is going on with these playoffs? There's a chance here that not a single favorite heading into the playoffs could win even a round. I mean, think if Dallas knocks off Nashville, if Colorado knocks off Calgary, if Toronto knocks out Boston, if Carolina takes the defending champs out, then you would have Pittsburgh, Washington, and Tampa Bay all out in the first round. Add Boston to that list, you could have them all out in the first round. What? This year has been wild, but getting back on track, St. Louis, I mean, huge props to St. Louis for going into Winnipeg and winning and winning and winning, and huge props for them coming back in the third period. You're down 2-0 to start the third, and what so far has been a very tight, one-goal game-filled series between St. Louis and Winnipeg. There's, you don't expect a team to blow a 2-0 lead in one period in a low-scoring defensive series like this. But, man, St. Louis just took it to them in the third. And for Winnipeg, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You have the chance to take a 3-2 lead and put your opponent on the brink of elimination on home ice with a 2-0 lead in the third period, and you blow it? That's not what Stanley Cup champions do. That's not what cup contending teams do. And for Winnipeg, I mean, that's a brutal loss. So this series, who knows which way it's going to go, because the way it's been going, it looks like Winnipeg's going to march into St. Louis and win Game 6 and tie it up at 3-3, and this will go to 7. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. Maybe finally that win is enough to move the momentum all the way to St. Louis's side, and St. Louis just goes home and finishes them off. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But, man, for Winnipeg, for them to go from a cup favorite to out in the first round, along with Tampa Bay going from cup favorite to out in the first round, Pittsburgh, good cup pick to out in the first round. I mean, it's just wild what's going on this year, and I think most people's predictions are not holding up to what's actually happening, because nobody could have predicted what's actually happening. This has been completely nuts, and we are seeing almost all the high seeds get knocked off. It's just absolutely nuts. But Winnipeg, what are you doing? You have a chance to win on home ice in a pivotal Game 5, and you blow a 2-0 lead in the third period. That is just brutal. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.